Hi, 8th graders, welcome back. We are continuing Unit 3. We're on day 7. So we've already learned about the immigrants who came to Louisiana. We've learned about the progressive movement. And then yesterday we started learning about Huey P. Long. Today we're going to continue looking at him through a different lens. We're going to ask, did we think that Huey P. Long was a hero to the people of Louisiana or a villain, a bad person? If you have not already, please finish your do now. All right, let's review. Check your answers as we go. Make sure you're listening as I read aloud. Questions will also pop up on the screen to make sure you're listening. We've been learning about Huey P. Long this week. We know that Long became famous following the flood of 1927 because he spoke out against the decision to flood the poor rural community of St. Bernard Parish. During this time, America was also experiencing the Great Depression. That was a time when many people lost their jobs and fortunes. As a result, many people were worried about the economy at the time. So when Huey Long promised to fight for the everyday working man, people listened. He introduced a program to provide free textbooks to school children. He also helped to build roads around the state. However, he did some things to hurt the state as well. For example, he fired state employees and replaced them with political friends and allies. This is a practice known as cronyism. He also required state employees to pay him a percentage of their salaries. These practices led to people arguing that Long was acting like a dictator instead of a democratically elected official. All right, flip your papers over to your historian hustle. Press next when you have answered all of your hustle questions. And let's review. One is Irish, progressives, disenfranchised, Jim Crow laws, women's suffrage, literacy test, poll tax, anti-child labor movement, Knights of the White Camellia, and sharecropper. All right, looking down at the framing the lesson. Right now, I want you to write down what are 2 reasons that some people, so we're thinking about, our compelling question today is, was Huey Long a hero or a villain? So we want to be thinking about first Donald Trump. Eventually, someone is going to write a textbook about Donald Trump, and some textbooks may say that Donald Trump was a hero to America. Some may say that he's a villain. I want you to think through right now what would be 2 reasons a textbook or a Trump supporter would say that Trump is a hero, and then what are 2 reasons that a textbook or a not Trump supporter would say that he's a villain. So keeping that in mind, I want you to write down on your paper, how is it possible for a politician to be a hero to some people, but a villain to others? Just like Donald Trump has some people who think that he is the best and is really steering America in the right direction, we have just as many people who think that he's not doing a good job. He's steering America in the wrong direction. Huey P. Long was very similar. People were very polarized about him, meaning they either really loved him, they thought he was a hero, or they really hated him, they thought that he was a villain. Today, you're going to decide, do you think that Huey Long was a hero or a villain to the people of Louisiana? Flip your papers to your notes and write down today's aim. Today we will describe the policies of Huey Long that positively and negatively impacted Louisiana and its residents. All right, let's start. So just a quick comment on Huey Long and race. Huey P. Long really did not demonstrate a lot of regard for African Americans, meaning he didn't make policies specifically to help him. Now, he did not discriminate against them in the policies that he did have. So when he had the free textbook program, children of any race were able to get textbooks from him. But he also did not go out of his way to help African American communities. Sometimes he would also accuse his opponents of supporting Black residents in Louisiana in order to hurt their reelection chances. Another thing that was a little negative about him is that Huey Long was pretty corrupt. Long would require state employees to pay a patronage, which is a percentage of their salaries, to him in order to maintain their jobs. So if someone worked for the state, like a teacher, for example, works for the state, we get our money from tax dollars. People who got their money from tax dollars had to pay a certain percentage of their money back to Huey Long. Sometimes Long used this money for re-election. Sometimes he used it for personal purchases. Another negative thing is that he would fire state employees and then punish them or their families if they didn't do what they wanted. So Huey Long was able to get his way a lot by threatening to fire people or fire their family members. This is one of the reasons why people accused him of acting like a dictator. Another thing that he did is he would rig elections to bring loyal supporters to government positions. He would either close voting booths early or do tactics to put like fake people running for office in order to trick people into voting for the people that he wanted. All of this led people to accusing Long of being a dictator. Many of these corrupt practices have also had a lasting impact on Louisiana government, and it continued long after his death. Politicians for years and years after he died divided up into pro-Long and anti-Long people. Here we see probably one of the most famous dictators is Adolf Hitler from Germany during World War II. Hitler had not come to power yet, or it had not, World War II had not started, so he wasn't really known on a very global scale quite yet. But I wanted to draw that comparison of Long and Hitler just because Long did some of the things that Hitler did, which was trying to tightly control the government and the people who worked in it. And so we see here with this political cartoon showing Huey Long trying to share our wealth program, but people believe that Louisiana was chained to him, that they were enslaved to Huey Long. So a couple of positive things. At the same time, Huey Long did modernize Louisiana's road systems. He provided public education for all students, and he sought to provide public services and rights to the average citizen. We can't say what Louisiana would have been like without Huey Long. We know that at the time of Huey Long, the roads were purely dirt roads, and they took days and days to travel, but when he modernized the road system, people were able to travel around Louisiana much faster. We know that more people were able to get a public education. We see here is a political cartoon. It shows the teacher. This is the situation before Huey Long. Teachers could send kids home if they didn't have textbooks. See, this kid's like, oh, I can't help it. And she's like, too bad. Go back until you get the books. But then the cartoon showing on the right-hand side, the teacher saying, well, there's no delay. Everyone gets free books, so everyone has to come to class. All right, you have 5 questions. Write your answers onto your paper. All right, for your document analysis, you're going to do most of this on your own. For source, for each document, I want you to be thinking through, does this document support that Long is a hero or that Long is a villain? So your first question says, why is Huey Long giving this speech and how might that impact what he says? So let's look at this. This is Every Man a King. It's a radio speech to the nation done in 1934 by Huey P. Long. Let's read the sourcing information. It says, this speech was delivered by Huey P. Long while he was a senator for Louisiana in order to gain more support for his program. It was Huey P. Long's goal to bring this program to all Americans. So we know that this is happening at the time of Long being a senator, 1934. This is when he's trying to get Americans to support his program so that we can make the Share Our Wealth program for the whole country. Number 1 says, why is Long giving the speech and how might that impact what he says? Write it down. All right, let's review. So Long is trying to gain support for his Share Our Wealth program. So he's probably going to talk up the program and then only share the positives. Question number 2 says, according to the speech, how does Huey P. Long propose that wealth should be distributed? So based on the speech, how does Long want the wealth to be shared? Let's read the first 2 paragraphs to get this. Actually, let's read the whole thing and then we'll answer each question. So it says, every man a king, so there would be no such thing as a man or woman who did not have the necessities of life, who would not be dependent upon the whims and wishes of the financial barons for a living. What do we propose by this society? We propose to limit the wealth of big men in the country by taxing them. We do not propose to divide it up equally. We do not propose a division of wealth, but we propose to limit poverty that we will allow to be inflicted upon any man's family. Every family should be guaranteed to have at least $5,000 a year, enough for a home, an automobile, a radio, and the ordinary conveniences and the opportunity to educate their children. A fair share of the income of this land and thereafter to that family So there will be no such thing as merely the select to have those things. And so there will be no such thing as a family living in poverty and distress. These taxes will allow us to give more money to our poorest citizens, pay old age pensions, pay for medical care of veterans, and to provide more educational resources for schools in our nation. This will help make the country more equitable and fair for all Americans. So write your answer to number 2. According to this speech, how does Huey P. Long propose that wealth should be distributed? All right, let's review. He believes the wealthiest Americans should pay greater taxes so that every family can be guaranteed a payment each year to pay for basics. Number 3, write your answer on your paper. Does this support that Huey Long was a hero or a villain, and explain? All right, let's review. I put the document could show Long as a hero because he wanted to share his wealth with the poorest citizens and through social programs. But it also could show Long as a villain because wealthier Americans may have found that the higher tax were unfair. Flip your papers to source 2. You're going to answer these 4 questions using the source. All right, let's review. Number 4, what happened to people who worked for government jobs after Huey Long took office? They were fired and replaced with Long's friends and supporters, which is called cronyism. Number 5, the flood control directors could not be removed by a governor. How did Long get around this rule to remove the directors of the flood control? He convinced the state legislature to get rid of it. Then he created a new board of flood control. And number 6, how does this passage help you better understand the political cartoon on the left? The political cartoon shows Louisiana enslaved to Long as he gives a speech. By taking control of different government positions with cronyism, he tightly controlled Louisiana and could use it to promote his agenda. And finally, does this show him as a hero or a villain? It shows him as a villain. He's using cronyism and manipulative methods to get fill government positions. All right, same for source 3. Read these 3 questions, then answer the questions. Answer the questions using the reading. All right, let's review. What were Louisiana's roads like prior to Long's road construction? They were mostly dirt roads. It took days to travel across them. Number 9, what were 2 benefits of building the new roads? It took less time to travel. It saved Louisianans money in gas. It saved Louisianans money in travel expenses. Like they didn't have to pay for hotels for a multi-day trip. And then does this show Long as a hero or a villain? It shows him as a hero. His administration is helping to modernize Louisiana's road system. And last source, read the source, then answer the questions. All right, number 11, what are 2 ways that Long received funds? He had state workers pay a percentage of their salary to them, and then he also received money from contractors working for the state. This source supports that he was a villain because he used corrupt practices to profit off of state employees. All right, for your exit ticket, clear your desk of everything. Go on to Illuminate and click Unit 3, Exit Ticket 7, Huey Long, Hero or Villain. Have a great day, guys.